Hello YouTubers, this is a geek must-have with a post bag with lots of goodies this time and stacking up for a couple of weeks. Let's see what we got. The first item says thickness tester. Curious what that might be. These are some of the strangest thickness testers I've ever seen. This package comes from the AliExpress vendor known as Beauty Fu and Healthy Store. And it's basically a up to 33 volts and up to 3 amp OLED display meter that's a combination of meter voltage, and it's an improvement over some of the ones I've used in my other projects, like this one here, which, zoom in on this. This is my volt and amp meter device to allow me to measure two things at the same time. And you can see the display's about the same size as this one, but this one supplies a lot more information. And this is what it looks like. I'll take the one that's a little straighter. It, in addition to voltage and amperage, it also has power and has the ability of tracking how many ampere hours have been consumed and how many watt hours have been consumed. It also measures temperature and gives you an idea as to how long it's been on. There's a timer built into this as well. So it's a timer, it's wattage, it's current, and it has the ability, by pressing a little button on the front here, to be able to track 2 or 3 things at the same time. I mean 2 or 3 sets of scenarios. So you can do one set of capturing of information and click the button, and it's like it clears the display off, and then you can track another set of power. It uses a power source to power the actual display module itself, and then a separate power source to actually track the current, the voltage, and then it figures out the wattage, and over time the ampere hours and the watt hours. So I'm going to just hook it up to my Dr. Meter power supply, and I'm going to set it at 9 volts, because that's typically what I would power it with. I would use a 9 volt battery like I did in this project to power it. And let's see if we get any smoke. This one and this one. And it walked right out. Maxed out current meter. Maybe I should read the instructions. Okay, I'm going to, using the right wires this time, I'm going to zoom into it, and you'll see a little, through the camera, you'll see a little bit of a fluctuation. The screen will kind of, it has like a ripple in it. Trust me, when I'm looking at it, it doesn't. It does have volts and amps. It's also got the time, it's got the wattage, what the temperature is in centigrade, ampere hours, and wattage hours. And by pressing a little button on the front here, you can get it to switch to different settings. But that's a lot different than this display, as you can see. Zoom back out a little bit. There we go. This one's easy to read, and in a lot of situations is more than enough. This one's a lot more accurate. So I'll probably be doing a project similar to this box here, only using this particular LED display unit. And the next package in this post bag says test cable lead. And it's pretty hefty, but can't always believe what's on the customs declaration. Okay. These items came from the AliExpress store known as B-Buys. It's B-B-Y-E-S store. And the first part of this are these smooth 608ZZ bearings. They're supposed to be 20 millimeters on the outside. And zoom in on them. And their bearings, all right. They're not real smooth, but they are bearings. And I'll just verify that the size they say they are. Yeah, real close to 22 millimeters on the outside. These are typically used for skateboards or rollerblades. I just needed to have some bearings for projects where I needed to have a bearing. I had no bearings whatsoever in any of my kits. As I said, the outer diameter is 22 millimeters. The inner diameter is supposed to be about 8 millimeters. Let's find out. Zero it out. Yep. The inside is about 8 millimeters. See, they're smooth, moving, high precision, and reliability. I just need to have some bearings. So, this is a bag of 10 of, they're known commonly as 608ZZ bearings. And the next item is a set of alligator clip banana plugs. It's for test leads, for either for a power supply, or in this case it looks like there's a micro USB hooked up to this. Oh, I get it now. So it has, I'm going to zoom in on this for you. Has a standard banana plug on the end. I say standard. It does fit into the Dr. Meter power supply. So this would plug into the power supply, and then out of that come a number of leads, including a lead which has a micro USB, which is kind of neat, a pair of alligator clips, and a red and a black set of micro pin adapters. Zoom in a little on this. These are really good for hooking power up. These could be used for either a power supply output, or they could be used on a multimeter. So you could use this to hook up to circuits or attach power to circuits. This is kind of like an octopus cord. I like these. This kind of eliminates the need to have like a whole bunch of extra leads around. And it's just long enough to work on the workbench here so that I don't have a lot of wires and stuff hanging around. The next package in this post bag says 4-inch F woodworking clip quick grip clamp carpenter tool ×2. I kind of remember ordering this. Yeah. This is part of an order that came from A store vendor on AliExpress. And they're basically 4-inch clamps that you can use to clamp something in place. press the button and it releases it. A lot of the bigger clamps I have are awkward to use to hold small things together. Just a woodworking clamp, in my case, an anything clamping clamp. Got a pair of those. And I have a bit of a bigger package here, but this one has the customs label covered up on it. Seems to have a couple of things inside of it. And this is the rest of the shipment that came from the AliExpress vendor Car A store. This is the rest of the package from the AliExpress vendor Car A store. And this is a pack of 8 3-inch spring clamps. Fairly small. Little jaws on them adapt. Nothing really fancy about them, they're just clamps, but smaller in size than some of the clamps I have in the woodworking shop downstairs. And nice tensile strength, or nice strength to the spring. The clamps, can I say? A bag of 8 of them. Next item is a voltage testing pen. So this is a non-contact voltage testing pen. It's supposed to be able to detect AC anywhere from 12 volts to 1000 volts. Requires 2 AAA batteries. Yeah. Try them positive first. That usually works. There it goes. Just didn't hook up right. And it has a both a light and a tone to let you know that there's power. So to test this thing, I'm going to use this standard 110 volt extension cord, and here it is, not plugged in anywhere, right there. We're supposed to see some type of indicator on this LED panel here to let us know that the signal's high, and the color goes from green to red and also let us know that it's live. The induction probe on the end is called an NCV sensor. All the diagrams of this thing showing it actually being inserted into an electrical outlet. So I guess because I can't stick this probe all the way inside the extension cord, it won't work. Well, so far this device has turned into just a poor ass flashlight. I'll have to play more with this to figure out how to get it to work, because it's obviously beyond my capability of understanding. The next item is a TDS3 water quality meter. Professional measuring of water quality and purity. And according to the specs on this thing, it is supposed to measure between 1 to 9,990 parts per million. It can work in various temperatures from 50 degrees down to minus 30 degrees. It says it has a 3-year life, and after 10 minutes it shuts the power off to save power consumption. So when you take the end off of the unit, it has the probes here that actually do the water testing, and you could stick it, it's a waterproof device, so you could actually stick this inside of the water to do the test, or you could fill the cap up and then stick the unit in here to stick the unit to test the water that you've collected. However, I imagine after you collect a little bit of water inside of this, you're pretty much going to contaminate this for good, because it's standard plastic and it will be tough to actually clean out properly. And yes, of course, oh, it did come with batteries. What do you know? There are the two little batteries right there. Those are the CR1620 batteries. Got it on and off. Oh, actually works. If I take a look at it. So I have a glass of water here that I've been drinking while I've been doing these videos. Here's a glass of water. Zoom on a little bit here. I wonder how good the water is. Well, this is my tap water. And my tap water is saying 236, 240 parts per million. I wonder if that's good or bad. So I'll go with temperature. And it says it's 20 degrees, 19 degrees centigrade. And the next item, if my order is correct, and it kind of sounds like it is, it should be a soldering iron frame and holder. And I like that it comes in this disassembled type of form, because this means it would take up less space in my instruments case, but it does require some assembly. I imagine once you get it put together, you probably don't want to be taking it apart again. Basically, I've seen these before. Basically, the soldering iron goes in here. This will conduct some heat down to this here. This little indentation area is for you to put like a wet sponge, so that you can wipe your soldering tip on the sponge to clean it off. There do appear to be two holes in this thing. So, oh, it fits in that hole fine. I bet this is so the screw is so that you can screw this down to a surface, and then it stays put. You don't have to worry about it moving. Yeah, pretty nice idea. But a real basic soldering iron stand. The next item, and that package, is a 12-volt timing delay timer relay with a duty cycle of 0 to 1,000 hours. Cover off of this, zoom into it. According to the specifications, there's a relay and a voltage that's supplied to this. So the VCC is the voltage in the ground, and this is the relay. That its power is 12 volts. The relay is 20 amps. The timing range is between 0 and I would say almost 1,000 seconds, and 0 and 1,000 minutes, and 0 to 8,000 hours. So depending on how you set the timing on it. So it's a 12-volt timing relay. Alright, the next package in this post bag is a package from somebody I can't identify. Now, I know who it came from, but the customs label is covered up on it. There appears to be a kit in here. I'm fairly certain I won this on an auction on eBay. I don't remember what it is. The circuit board might up. It has a little plastic case for it. It uses a coin cell battery. What it is. It's got a back. It's got a front where the cell goes. And it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 LEDs. Gee, I think this is one of those electronic dice kits. And the next package comes from RZ Mask. One of my first videos that I ever did was on this company. And I use their mask a lot for when I'm in areas where I'm kicking up a lot of dust. So I decided to purchase a couple more of the older style masks. These are the M2 masks. I got the mask. I got some F3 filters for it and some extra valves. And this order came in one hell of a hurry. I'm really impressed with these folks a lot. You'll see these masks used on other YouTube channels where it's woodworking. April Wilkinson uses hers on her channel. And the next item in this post bag is from Adafruit. I always like my packages that come from them. So there are two items in this shipment. One is a Circuit Playground Express, and the other one is a Gemma M0. So this is the Circuit Playground Express. Let's open this up. Take it out. Easier said than done. There we go. Comes in a nice resealable package. And comes with an Adafruit sticker, which will go on my tool rack. And this is what it is. Zoom into it for you. That's the proper orientation right there. Alright. Has 10 neopixels around the outside, so each one is addressable and can display any color. Has a motion sensor and a triple axis accelerometer. I don't know which one. I think it's this chip right here. Temperature sensor, a thermistor, a light sensor. Can act as either a color sensor or a pulse sensor. I've seen a project where it's used to take your pulse from your finger as a sound sensor or a microphone. I wonder where all these things are in here. Well, they do make it kind of easy for you to tell. There's a little ear here, a little music thing there, a little temperature there. Probably the eyeball is for the photoresistor. It's got a couple of switches here. These are the neopixels going around the outside. There's the power for it, an LED to let you know that it's on. Ground and voltage out. A bunch of analog ports and then some other ports. Two push buttons, a slide switch, infrared receiver, and a transmitter, which means you can do like remote codes. And it's a way that two of the Circuit Expresses can talk to each other. It uses alligator clip mounts, so that's why you see these large ends. They sell these to schools a lot, and because schools aren't allowed soldering irons because they're dangerous. They have these alligator clips. They also happen to be the right size holes for you to be able to, I think it's to be able to put like a 2.5 millimeter screw through there and then connect using that. It has I2C, UART, and 8 pins that can do analog and can do multiple pulse width modulation. 7 of the pads can be capacitance touch, so you can do like a little tiny organ or switches or whatever. Uses the AST AMD21 ARM Cortex M0 processor, running at 3.3 volts and 48 megahertz. Comes with 2 megabytes of SPI flash storage, which is used for CircuitPython to store code in libraries. It has a micro USB port for programming and debugging, and the USB port can act like a keyboard, so this can be used to spoof keyboards. A very powerful device, and the reason why I got it is because, excuse me, it uses a combination of different programming languages. You can use the Microsoft Make Code editor, which is where you drag and drop little icons of things together to plug and make it do things. And for kids, it makes it pretty easy because it's not a programming language as much as it is fitting Lego blocks together to get it to do things. It also uses CircuitPython, and even though I refuse to admit it, Python has become a new and emerging language in today's language sets. I tend to use JavaScript and Node and the libraries that come with it, and I've stayed away from Python for a bit, but I know I'm going to have to learn it, and this is one of the devices I'm going to use to learn it. And you can also program it using the Arduino if you want. The nice thing about using the CircuitPython with this, when you plug this in to your computer, it looks just like another disk drive or thumb drive was plugged in. And by copying files to this, Python files to this, and rebooting it, it runs those files. So unlike the Arduino where you have to compile something and then download that compiled code to the Arduino device, this is basically a drag and drop the Arduino code file down to here. So it's an interpretive language rather than a compiled language like the Arduino language is. The next item from Adafruit is this Gemma M0. And these are relatively new. And if you had gone to the Python conference that was held, I guess, a couple weeks ago, inside of your bag of goodies for attending, you got one of these for nothing. It was tossed in as a gift. So let's zoom into this little M0. Give you an idea of its size. There's the Playground Express. And there's the M0 next to it, Playground Express, Gemma M0. We'll zoom into this a little bit more. Okay. And the Gemma is a series of boards that Adafruit has come out with, so this is the same form factor as the rest of them. And it uses ATtiny85 8-bit AVR. It has an ATSAMD 21E 32-bit Cortex M0 Plus. Has 265K bit flash, twice as much as that you would find on a little ATtiny device, and 32K of RAM, and that's like 64 times the amount of what is on an ATtiny. I use the ATtinys to make keyboard generators that generated like a shift F15 key, or pressing the F15 key every minute or so. And when I plugged that little tiny AT90 into a computer, what it would do is keep the computer alive. A lot of corporate computers that you have that you don't have any activity after a certain period of time, the computer goes into standby mode and you have to log in again. So I made an ATtiny device to basically emulate a keyboard. Has a native USB, supported by everything. Can be used again with Arduino or CircuitPython. Can emulate a mouse or a disk drive, again just like its bigger brother the Circuit Express, for Python scripts. The AT Tiny 85, unless you buy it in the form factor with the USB on it, doesn't even have a USB. This can be used with the Arduino IDE or the Circuit Python. It doesn't support the Microsoft Make code block builder, but it does have an RGB LED on there, has some sewing holes on it, and each of the I/O pads can be used as a 12-bit analog or a digital. And it says true analog output, so it can play 10-bit audio clips. It has PWC, capacitance touch sensors, and can actually have enough memory to drive 8,000 plus neopixels. So this would be a device with a little tiny battery on it. You could sew it into a piece of clothing with some neopixels attached to it and do some pretty fantastic looking effects. Has a JST battery connector on the side here, so you can use like a standard JST lithium battery. You can either plug in some AAAs or a LiPo. And it comes with Circuit Python on it. At least I believe it does. And this is the smallest little, look at my finger, the smallest little Python device that's out there. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with it yet, but I'm going to force myself to learn some Python. These are the items in today's post bag. Got a little water purity sensor tester, a couple of volt amp meters that also track power over time, some standard skateboard wheels, a time delayed relay, a high voltage sensor that doesn't seem to work so far, a set of either power supply extension cords or a volt ohm meter, soldering disc, a Circuit Express, a Gemma M0, some clamps, and a little dice kit, more clamps. So this is today's post bag. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, then please click on the thumbs up. If you'd like me to review one of the items in this list here in more detail, tell me in the comments and I'll do it. Consider subscribing to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. Every single subscriber I get makes me smile. Have a good one.